So I want to thank again our administrators, in order of Mrs. Smith, Mr. Parinello, Mr. Van, Ms. Lila, and the entire administrative team. Thanks again for the students who came out tonight to celebrate school board recognition. That was really terrific. It's nice to be called a superhero, but I do get to serve with these people on my left for many years now. And I will tell you, they are a dedicated group. It is really nice to have such a team that is proud of our school district and trying to, I guess really at the end of the day, hold up to our standards that we all feel and love in our community. So thank you again for all of that. Thanks again to our administration for doing that recognition. I did want to move up the reports and reviews, so I'm going to move things around for a moment just to have our principal, Mr. Kevin Van, do our middle school principal report, if that's okay with everybody. Just keep things moving.
Do
we need to take a motion?
Yeah.
Do I need to do it? May I get a
To
motion
amend
to
the
move
agenda?
to amend the agenda to have the reports and reviews go forward? First, Mike. Second, Megan. Any discussion or question on it? All good? Okay. All in favor? Thank you.
We do like you,
6-0.
Kevin.
Mr. Van was ready. He was at the ready. He was at the ready going.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Van.
So it's my pleasure to be with you tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about the middle school and some focus on some of the programs that we're particularly proud of. I actually thought it was kind of fitting. In the beginning of the meeting, we talked about the success of our academic program and our athletic program. And I think hand in hand with that goes the success and the pride we all have in our fine arts, in our music programs, and in our art program. Those are the items I really wanted to focus on tonight. I want to talk a little bit about our music ensembles and our art program as well. So, our music ensembles are really led by outstanding educators. I think I'm very fortunate. I think it's very rare that in my first 3 years here at the middle school, I was able to hire a new band director, a new orchestra director, and a new choir director, which is very uncommon just given the length of a 30-year career for the most part. And they replaced wonderful teachers, Ms. Judding, Mr. Gross, and Ms. O'Brien moving up to the high school. But I really looked at that as a wonderful opportunity to bring new energy to the music program, starting with Mr. Voles and Mr. Finnerty and Mr. Samante. So I think having those gentlemen lead the music program and couple that with tremendously talented students who were coming up, I think K through 12, our music educators are top notch in the district. So when students come in from 5th grade, they're really ready to take that next step, in their musical careers. So I'm appreciative of all the wonderful music educators that we do have in the district. Our ensembles meet each day. So band, chorus, and orchestra, they have a dedicated instructional period. 6th period is 7th and 8th grade, and 7th period is 6th grade. So they meet each day. They also have a rotating lesson schedule that the teachers work really, really hard to spread out. So, during the course of a quarter, an academic quarter, a student really should only miss one particular class no more than 2 times. And that's given like a perfect world without holidays and whatnot in there. So they really do, they take extra care to make sure that that's spread out as much as possible, so it's as least impactful on academics as possible. They also have extra help for lessons that are missed for if a student has a test or a quiz or something day. They have extra help. They do that in the mornings, and they also do it during some of the lunch periods as well. We do take pride in the quality of our instruments, so each year we have a dedicated budget line for replacement of instruments and or repair of instruments, and we have an ongoing kind of inventory on that as well. The spaces that we use are also being updated, and each year the music department gets together and makes suggestions about how we can try to improve their communal spaces where they're doing their rehearsals. We just recently finished a little bit of work in the auxiliary gym, which is where the chorus rehearses, and they did some cosmetic work in there that makes it look really nice, and there's some planned items for the summer as well. So it's something that's always in the forefront of our mind, our music program, and trying to support that as best we can. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of with our music ensembles is their commitment to not just being in the music classroom. The chamber orchestra always performs at the Radicals and Tories, which is the event we have with our social studies classes. They also performed at the Retirement Recognition Board of Education event at the end of last year. The choir groups go out and sing at various senior facilities around the holidays. So there's really a commitment to that, and I think that's certainly does a service for us in as far as the school district is concerned when some of those outside groups, get to see how wonderful our students are performing. Our band program has the highest enrollment it has had in 10 years, which is really impressive given the fact that we do have some declining enrollment for the fact that we do have such a commitment to stay with the band program. As you see, 46 kids there in 6th and 87 in 7th and 8th. That 46 represents about a third of the entire 6th grade class. So the participation in the music program is quite impressive. As is the retention rate. So students, they come in and they stay in. Once they get to meet these teachers and work with these teachers, they just bring a lot of happiness and joy to the music suites around the building. So the jazz band is a rehearsed auditioned group of open to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Currently, they have 30 students in the jazz band. If you've been fortunate enough to attend some of the concerts, when they play, it's incredible. The level that they play at and the way that they're, I guess, not treated but taught with the ability to do improvs. They actually do improvs during the course of the show. Mr. Finity gives them that latitude, and students are very eager to do that. Oftentimes at this age group, you might think you're a little bit more reserved, but they're very eager to participate in those opportunities. So that's a wonderful program. The awards, it's similar. It's funny because it is similar to our athletics and our academic awards. Students are recognized, constantly. So that 41, that represents students that decided to, on their own, to enter the festival and learn a solo piece and participate in that. So that's almost half of the kids in that 7th and 8th grade band program that are that excited about music to take on that additional responsibility. And 37 of those 87 were nominated to be part of this year's All-County Ensemble. So those are nominations. They're not necessarily in yet, but according to Mr. Finity, who is a great judge of talent, those students certainly have the potential to be all-county members, and that selection is made, I believe, in December. Orchestra program, similar, right? So Mr. Voles runs that program. We have 37 students in that program and 56 in the 7th and 8th. And when students come in from 5th grade, they're leveled up. The music is leveled up a little bit, so they're getting prepared to really participate in that 7th and 8th grade program. The music becomes a little more challenging, and they build on the foundations that they had learned in 5th grade. The chamber orchestra, as I mentioned before, that's an after-school club, and they meet once a week for an hour, 29 students, which is, again, pretty large enrollment in that. And they're participating in the Radicals and Tories. They play at the National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony. I believe they play at the Sweets and Treats fundraiser that's up at the high school as well. And again, almost 50% of those students decided to take on a challenging solo piece that is optional to participate in that. So, when I really think about that comes certainly from the love of music, but it comes from the encouragement and the confidence they get from their teachers as well. So I think that's not something that should be understated. The fact that they're encouraged and supported to go after these, higher level items, I think is very impressive. And you see the 8 perfect scores. 20 of them received the highest in their grouping. And again, several students, All County and the LIFSA as well. So just very impressive. And chorus, certainly last but not least, it has grown exponentially in the past couple of years. So in the 2019, we had 37 students in the 6th grade program. We currently have 66, so that's a growth of 78%, which is about half of the 6th grade is involved in the choir program. And we have, about 15 or 20, about 15 triplers, so kids who participate in all 3, and we probably have 20 or so doublers who participate. So it's just very impressive. And you see the almost 100 kids in 7th and 8th grade chorus. you know, it's a testament to Mr. Samante and his classroom management, to be honest with you, too. To have 100
That's
kids
what I
in
was gonna
there.
say.
But we do give them some support when we need it.
Truly good.
But those kids are super excited to be part of that. And the quarter tones, you know, 33, that's the girl performing group, and the chromatics is the boys. And, you know, I don't know if I know of another middle school that has a dedicated, you know, a show choir for the boys, and that has that much enrollment, has 17 students in it. And they're incredibly talented. And again, you see some of the awards there at the bottom. Last year, I was fortunate to go with them to that Music in the Parks. This is up in, I think it was up in New England, in Massachusetts, and they all won. The chromatics won for their group, the quarter tones won, and the choir won best overall of all of the groups that were up there. And that's, you know, folks from several different states. You know, in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York. So there's just the quality is amazing. I give them all credit, the three of those gentlemen, also for availing themselves of a lot of the other competitions on Long Island. So we've entered a lot more. We've traveled a little bit more with these groups. So I think they're really they're to be commended, as are their students. So I think getting back to what I started with in the sense that you know, you take really talented educators and put them with talented students, you're going to have great outcomes.
Good blossom. Yeah, awesome.
You know, one thing I did want to mention is just Mr. Samante is really kind of he's kind of like a force within the Suffolk County Music Educators Association. He is the president-elect of SCMEA, which is the Suffolk County Music Educators Association. He's constantly involved in professional organizations. He's an all-county conductor, and he's currently enrolled actually in a doctoral program for scholarship in music education. So he is like fully committed to furthering his professional development in music, and I hope that doesn't mean he leaves us anytime soon. But you know, he is definitely you know, it's like a kind of a beacon, and it's good for our district to have him out there and representing our school in such a positive way. So the music program is alive and well. It is flourishing,
Yes.
for sure, under their leadership and with your support as well. We appreciate that. And that certainly not to be outdone by our art program has made, is just an incredible, you saw some of the work out there in the lobby and some of those pencil drawings, or I'm not sure if I'm describing the medium correctly, but we'll hear more about that in a moment. So certainly under Ms. Finnegan's direction, our art department and the quality of the work the students have produced is just amazing. So we are fortunate enough to have her here tonight to present some of her students' works and just a little bit of overview on the art program.
Terrific. Thank
So
you.
Ms. Finnegan, please come up.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Finnegan, as Mr. Van just said. I'm the art teacher here at the middle school, and I'm excited to show you just a little bit of our program that we're building, where creativity and skill development go hand in hand. Okay. All right, so one of our daily practices that we have been kind of implementing in October is the Inktober Challenge, which is this sort of daily prompt where students are given the date. So for example, today is the 29th, so that was Navigator, and students are challenged to make a quick sketch as they're due now, which is kind of like a mini drawing, which you may have seen displayed in the art hallway. And it's really exciting to see how this simple sort of routine can build confidence and creativity over just the course of a month. So students who sometimes are nervous, they're like, oh, it's just a 2-minute sketch, and they do a really great job and create these fabulous mini sketches. So of course I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but at the first half of the year I have the 6th and 8th grades, so I'm just going to highlight some of the things that we've already made this year. So the Keyhole project, this is a drawing where students imagine something that is through the shape of a keyhole, whether it's something imaginative or something realistic. And I love this project because not only do they get to practice drawing from perspective, but it also kind of sparks a storytelling through art. And it's really amazing to see the wide range of things that the students come up with. Some things are spooky, some things are, you know, characters they're interested in, and then some things are so realistic you actually feel like you're looking through that keyhole shape. And also, I'm trying to explain keyholes to them, and they're like, my car starts with a button? I don't really know what that is. So we spent a lot of time going over that. Something else the students have worked on this year is our optical illusions. So sixth graders learn about patterns and precision and spatial relationships. And it's really awesome to see how they can kind of discover manipulating shapes and lines to trick the eye. And sometimes the students even surprise themselves. They're like, wow, this looks so three-dimensional. Moving on to 8th grade. So I knew I wanted to do some sort of poster design with them to show the impact of that. And Mrs. Biscardi actually introduced the Brookhaven Town Hall Student Art Contest through Red Ribbon Week. So the students were able to create this design that is impactful and has a message underlying.
I love it.
So the project connects real-world communication while also supporting something that our school really emphasizes and is really a project that we're proud of.
Very
So
powerful.
the students learn that art can be visually interesting but also purposeful. And there were actually a few students who earned awards, and they didn't tell me, their parents did. But they created these really different, unique ideas that are specific to them and their interests and how they picture living their best life drug-free. Something that you all got to see out in the hallway are their gridded drawings, which they did use pencil and then added charcoal over the top. But I think that this really shows the 8th graders' technical growth. They used essentially a grid to compare to an actual image, and they drew one square at a time, kind of focusing on small details that ultimately create this realistic image. And I think, again, this just really demonstrates their remarkable maturity at this point. Some of these 8th graders I've had since 6th grade, so watching them develop is really great. So going from 6th to 8th grade, the curriculum builds methodically over the 3 years. So in 6th grade, we establish basic art skills, and they're given a lot of opportunity to express their creativity. The 7th graders advance to more complex works, including drawing figures and watercolor landscapes. And by 8th grade, students are able to tackle more sophisticated projects like their gridded drawings and some sculptural work that hopefully helps prepare them for more challenging work in the high school. Okay, so our after-school art club provides a creative space for students who want to explore artwork outside of the regular curriculum. This year we're focusing a little bit more, instead of doing an open studio, on creating a portfolio. So it's kind of focusing on having more of a direction, so creating a self-portrait, an artist statement, and kind of learning who they are as an artist and how to represent that. So something that I'm really excited about is I talked to Mrs. Shepard at the high school, and our plan is at the end of the year to have the high school art club come down and sort of adjudicate the portfolios and give them feedback, and also kind of give them any advice or tips. That way, when they translate into the high school, it's a little bit easier of a transition, which I think would be really wonderful.
Really is.
Our RISE art program is something I'm particularly proud of. Through adaptive techniques, we support motor skill development and emotional growth while creating these really meaningful art experiences. So they've already created a lot of wonderful collaborative works, individual works, and they just really have a lot of fun creating these things. And I think they are to thank for a lot of the beautiful things that are enhancing the hallways, and they're so proud to see everybody come over and just totally adore their work.
Absolutely.
Oops, I skipped. So the spring art display, this is something that we started last year, so hopefully it becomes a tradition. So during the spring concerts, the auditorium lobby sort of transforms into
It's
a
amazing.
gallery.
It's like a museum. Yeah, exactly. It's like an art gallery. I would agree with that.
Yeah, it was
It's
really,
terrific.
really wonderful to see that space that's normally a little bit more simple kind of transform into a showcase for the student work. The display allows the students to see their work be kind of appreciated by the community and also experience having that combination of visual and music art combined. And I think it gives them that recognition that they deserve, creating all of this work that they put so much time and effort into, and seeing everybody just totally be in awe by their artwork. And
Well, lets others appreciate it too. It
Oh,
lets
thank
others see
you.
it and appreciate their art, right?
yeah,
Gives them the confidence to continue to come back and do it. So,
absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
having other people view their artwork and them choosing their best piece
100%.
and being in charge of what is being displayed is really also important.
You
So-
got my best side in that picture I just
Is that you, Henry?
He's
Is that
in
you
there.
on the art?
Yeah,
is
I'm
that-
looking and going, that guy almost looks like me. And then I'm like, that is me. But that was me. That is me.
That was on purpose.
Oh, there you go, Henry.
This is part of your modeling. portfolio.
I don't even remember why it was
On purpose, you got the
I was,
backside.
I was hoping when I took those pictures and I put them up there, I was like, I hope everyone's okay with me using those. So I hope that was right.
You'll be hearing from his lawyer.
That's right. Something else that I really think was so exciting, we participated in last year and we plan on doing again this year, is the Parish Art Museum. Personally, I love to visit the Parish Art Museum. There are a lot of interesting, famous artists in there, and then they also have a student exhibition every year. And the students get to see not just their artwork hanging up on a wall and people are walking around, there are actual famous artists in the museum as well. So they get to have that experience with their families, show their artwork, and then kind of take a tour through the building. So that's definitely something that we'd like to keep doing. And I think having the students experience this validates kind of their artistic journey and connects our program to an even broader art community.
Real world, yeah.
And lastly, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the Wildcats with Character. I think this is such a fabulous program. I think it really grounds students and helps them reflect on what kind of person they want to be instead of just their academics. So I would love to keep going forward and trying to incorporate that into our artwork as well. Last year during October, which is the month of kindness, the students created this powerful collaborative work where each student contributed one feather with a personal message of kindness, which created these really wonderful wings. And it's a great example of how an individual expression can come together and make a sort of meaningful message for the school community. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to come up and share all of this with you. I think these projects represent more than just art education. I think we're building creativity and confidence and character within the students. And I feel so lucky to be a part of the program. It's been such a wonderful experience so far. And I look forward to seeing what else the talented students are going to accomplish. So.
Very impressive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very impressive.
Oops, sorry.
So I
Mrs.
think,
Finnegan, I just wanted to say, what I think is brilliant about your work is that it's very clear that the work that you're doing is woven into the culture of Purdell. It's not an isolated block, but it's woven into everything that's done. It's really incredible.
Thank you.
And I would say for the music, you know, when we go to high school events and we see, you know, the recent theater program or any of the orchestra, it's really a culminating activity of everything that's been done. And Purdell was such an important experience, I know, for my son with the music department. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
yeah, definitely. Thank you for presenting tonight.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Mr. Van, you know, just to, you know, add on to what you said around both the art program and the music program, by identifying the right people, right, the staff you brought on, the teachers that we have, look at what is produced, right? And to see this tonight and to see the outcomes, we know the points of pride. These are two of them in our district, of many, but tremendous.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I appreciate that. I think it's,
Sincere.
you know, and it's also the most important thing that you can do as an administrator or a principal is to
Well, you know,
get
they
good
always
people
say,
to
right,
come
is
aboard
that
with
all
you,
the
so.
studies that we read, they say arts and music add to a, you know, child's not only development, right, but maybe in terms of where their growth comes from. And this is just another element that we're able to provide, so really great.
I'm so excited about the idea of our high school students coming together with the middle school students and potentially, you know, encouraging more middle schoolers to take on that fine arts pathway and to catch that sort of vision of how their high school experience can look. And just, you know, to get our students together and to inspire one another I wish we did that sooner. I love it. I
Yes,
love it. I love
me
that
too.
idea.
Ms.
Amazing.
Biscardi, I want to call out the
Thank
Red Ribbon Project, those posters, that was tremendous. Or working in, you know what I mean, in conjunction, you get it. But thank you for both doing that and sponsoring it. Those themes, those messages, those resonate with the students, I'm sure, and with the kids. So in building character, I guess it comes with the character program, right? So, very good. Really great.
Yeah, thank you. I just getting back to the
Yep.
Wildcats with Character program.
Thank you.
You know, really, Mrs. Biscardi has kind of taken the lead with that program this year. And one of the things that we do is, or she does, is identify quotes that support each characteristic. You know, this month was kindness. But what she had done was open it up to student ability to submit quotes that are important to them
Okay.
about kindness. And how many was it?
Yeah, well, we're starting next month with gratitude, but we started it this month where they can actually submit a poll for next month, and I had 233
Wow.
submitted by students. No doubt. So
Wow.
233 separate polls for gratitude. You know, lots of repeats, so I thought, you know, the most popular ones, and those are going to be read in the morning throughout the month of November. And then we'll do that each month so that students for the next trait for the next month can also submit quotes. We also had students volunteer to come and read the announcements in the morning so that we could actually have students doing the quote of the day in the evening. And I had 59 responses for that.
That's awesome.
So we'll be able to have students using it every morning instead of me.
Those results, talk about engagement.
Just small steps to keep advancing the program.
Absolutely.
I have to commend the teachers because they help too, just like Ms. Finnegan, and we
Yes.
keep it on, and it becomes really the culture of the school when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Finnegan, again. Yeah, but you're right, Ms. Biscardi. I think at the end of the day, that engagement, that level of engagement is incredible. So, quite impressive. What else
Yeah.
you got, Mr. Van? You got any more good news? What else?
Yeah, a little bit. I just wanted to take a moment. At the beginning of the year, we met with
Yes, library.
Miss Kalen, and she had some wonderful ideas for the library, what's going on
Okay.
in the library. So if you just look at that top number, the by the numbers thing, that kind of struck me a little bit.
Wow.
If you look at those numbers there, and my eyes are getting so bad, but
Right.
with 455 readers,
Right.
so many books that have been checked out. So I think the average is one book per student for every 8 days through the first 30, 34, 35 days of school, which is quite impressive, I think, you know. So, and there's a lot that goes into that, her making it such an inviting place, the beautiful showcase that she has out that's themed during different times of the year. But also in there, you know, computer science and digital fluency happens in there, sustainability practice, social emotional learning. So one of the big things that we started off the year with
Great, Jerry.
is the Big Read, and that's a book that's selected that, you know, for in one way or another kind of supports the Wildcats with Character program, whether it's resiliency or whether it's, you know, gratitude or kindness. The first one, which is very timely, obviously, is New Kid, and we had many kids that signed up to read that, and it's really goes to the idea of, you know, supporting students transitioning into a new school, some of the challenges you face, resiliency, things of that nature. So they're always themed to support, you know, the Wildcats with Character program in one way or another. Another one that's I'll skip around a little bit, is First Page Friday. So that's something that's kind of cool that we started this year, and it's just it's a way to get students interested in a book or a particular book, but more so to get them to understand that people love to read because they love to read, not because they have to read for a class or they have to read a textbook for you know, to pass the test. So we have guest readers who come in on Fridays and read the first page or two, you know, wherever the natural fall would be, to try to get students, you know, interested in those books. So we started off with me and Mrs. Biscardi and I going into classrooms, the seventh and eighth grade English classes, and, you know, reading the first page of a book or so. After the first day, Miss Kalen sent us a text. Already 4 requests for this one. Already 5 requests for this one, for the, you know, the books that we're reading.
Sure.
So I tend to be a little bit competitive. So I said, well, why don't you start keeping track and see who gets more, more referrals, Lauren or myself? And that was a mistake.
Who's winning, Mr.
That
Van?
was a terrible mistake. So I started off pretty good, but now I'm being crushed. And I think a lot of that has to do with kids just being nice to her. 'Cause
No
she,
excuses, Mr.
you
Van.
know.
No excuses.
No, her being an English teacher probably. I mean, there's a lot of big words for me in some of those books, so I struggled with it a little bit. But it's really something that kids are really looking forward. They're looking forward to. They get excited about it. We now have other teachers that are popping in from other disciplines that want to take part in that as well. Other staff members, not necessarily just teachers. So it's really, it's kind of taking off, and it just shows kids that hey, everyone loves to read for a variety of reasons and different types of books, and it doesn't have to be, academic necessarily.
Of course.
So that's something that we've enjoyed so far. We had a really cool assembly, which was a virtual literacy pep rally with Kwame Alexander. We had all the 8th graders in here, and it was a live chat with him, with other schools, about 200,000 middle schoolers across the country. And he's such an engaging speaker. Many of our kids have read his book, Rebound, The Crossover, and we were able to actually support that program with some additional copies of those books that we were able to purchase thanks to your support with the budget. So that's something that was exciting. And we're also looking to bring back book talk. So that is something that we had done a few years ago. When I started, we did it, and then I guess with COVID, really, it kind of fell off a little bit. But that's where we have like an extended advisory, and every staff member in the building gets paired up with about 10 kids. They meet first, they hand out the book, they talk about what they think the book's going to be about, and it's generally not, a book you could read in, a day or two.
Sure.
And just, talk about what they think, what predictions, what's going to happen, what do you think is going to happen here, who's the main character. Then 2 weeks later, we get back together when everyone's finished the book, and you have a little book talk with the kids about that. So we're really looking to try to bring that back.
That's great.
It was great. I love doing it, and you get just for the camaraderie and meeting students you may not necessarily know, and you pick books on interest. So that's something that's very exciting that we're looking to do. As the year unfolds, maybe around December, sometime in December. So there's plenty of things on there. That's just a couple of the items that I wanted to mention.
Great call-outs.
And across the grade levels, of course, we have particular connections with the library program.
I like the Google quote.
Yeah.
I can bring you back, right one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's a really good
That's
one.
good.
But just for 6th grade, it's getting kids used to the library, getting used to the virtual reference. A lot of time spent in there and not recess. We don't have recess, but we have the unsupervised, the uneating part of lunch, we call it, because we just don't have recess. So when kids have finished eating, a lot of them head in there if they don't want to go outside and run around, and plenty of stuff to do in there. But the STEAM and the virtual travel, the electives the specials for 6th grade, they have a strong connection with the library, and they go in there a lot and do quite a bit of work in there. Similar to 7th grade, they ratchet up some of the instruction. 7th graders get in there as well, mainly in ELA Science and Impact, which is the old MOIP program. So there's certainly some strong connections curriculum-wise with what's going on in the library and in those courses as well. And similar for 8th grade, one of the cool things that we had in 8th grade was the connection to the LIRC, which is the Long Island Library Resource Council. So they have kind of traveling exhibits. So we had our social studies classes in there come in and do kind of a gallery walk on immigration and women's rights, where we had lots of different artifacts and photos and stories, where the kids would come in and do a gallery walk that was led by Ms. Kalin and the Ms. Seneca and Ms. Fallon, Mr. Schmidt as well. So there was a really nice, strong connection. And also journalism, which is this special for 8th graders. She does a great job with GarageBand and podcasting and making those connections as well. So the library is a very busy place. Lots of classes are in there. Kids are in there during their lunch periods, after they're finished eating. And the makerspace supports, a lot of the standards that we have. Community connection, certainly with makerspace as well. A lot of kids going there on their lunch and making cards for the veterans. We did a drive where we had cards for Stony Brook Pediatrics, students that were in the hospital around the holidays, and kids were very happy and excited to do that. There's a puzzle in there. Sometimes if having a bad day, I'll go in there and just mess around with the puzzle for a little bit. You know, it keeps your mind off of things. I mean, the kids love it too. They come in there. It's a great stress reliever. There's board games, plenty of stuff going on in the library all the time. It's really a vibrant place. It's kind of the center of the school, both geographically and, you know, figuratively. Kids get in there and, you know, are supported and surrounded by like-minded students. So that's just a couple of the things I just wanted to go over with you guys as far as the music program, things that we're particularly proud of. The music program, the art program, as you heard, is incredible and thriving here under wonderful leadership, and lots of great things going on in the library. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just it's amazing to think about the library years ago, before we did the bond, how it was open to the hallway.
Yeah.
And now a lot of these activities that you're mentioning probably couldn't exist in
No.
that open environment.
Yeah, I think that was, it's funny, open school night, right, we have a lot of folks come in who may have gone through the school system here, you know, gone to Purdell when they were younger, and that's one of the things they always comment on is like, they can't, you know, the library's closed in. I'm like, yes, it's supposed to be.
It's quiet.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. But it is a wonderful space. It's a beautiful space, and you know, we appreciate the support of the board when that was renovated, along with much of the other areas of the middle school. But yeah, the library it's a friendly, warm environment. We have our faculty meetings in there. It's just good. It's a really good space. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting the enrichment that's happening here in the middle school and just the outcomes. It's so nice to see the engagement meaning and the programs you highlighted tonight. Just, you know, really great. I don't know what else to say other than keep up the great work. I tell you, it's great.
Yeah, thanks. I think, you know, the large credit goes to the wonderful staff that's here.
Absolutely.
You know, I say it all the time at faculty meetings and around, you know, when we're sending out messages around the holidays or if we're going to be off for a while, they make it a good place for kids, a safe place for kids, and a place where kids feel comfortable and want to come. And to me, that's the definition of a successful middle school. So.
Absolutely. I think as a board, I think we're all grateful for the administration and the teachers that we have and the staff. Otherwise, this place, you're a people business, right? We're, you know, it wouldn't exist without everyone and the hard work that everyone puts in. So thanks for that.
But we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Anything else? Good. Thank you. Thanks again, Mr.
Thank you.
Van. Thanks for hosting tonight, too, by the way. Okay. Okay, next up we have, Stephanie, so we're going to do the 2023-24 external audit recommendations. Ms. Mahoney.
Thank you. I'm just going to read a letter written by Mr. Larry Kogel, who is the chairperson pro tem for the audit committee. At the October 24th, 2024 audit committee meeting, it was the consensus of the committee members to accept the 2023-2024 external audit reports and to recommend the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 external audit reports, which consists of district's financial statement and supplementary schedules and related corrective action, and the extra classroom activity funds financial statement for the period ending June 30th, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to compliment Mr. Curie. I did read through the report and see, I don't think there was really anything even highlighted this year. Past comments that were made were all, you know, taken care of, if you will, and complete. So thanks again for that. So yeah, anyone have anything to add on the external audit? No? Okay, very good. Okay, very good. So we're going to keep moving on. I'm going to go back up to old business. I did want to have a discussion with the board. It came to our attention in some of the social media posts, whether it was on the Facebook site, Shoreham-Wading River community page. I happened to see a petition put up by a resident related to some past work that was done really primarily on behalf of the board through our architect that was presented at Space and Facilities for a few years around our turf fields and looking at field conditions. And I believe that through those reports and through the committee's involvement, as a board, you know, I did want to make mention that to the community that the board does take into consideration community feedback. I think that was sort of a misstatement on behalf of some people on that post that the board doesn't listen to feedback. I think we do a really good job of that. I think what we're always balancing is the priorities of the district. We use the building condition survey report. We look at our capital raising, we look at our budget, and we decide annually with administration what are the priorities of the district. So there's usually a plan, not usually, there is a plan, I shouldn't say usually. There is a plan that we act on, and it's targeted strategically in a 5-year plan. It's targeted annually based on capital needs and maintenance projects. And I just wanted to open up for a discussion to see if, based on the post and on the petition, you know, I'd want to encourage, if there are community members that have otherwise to say about specific projects, even the turf, if they want to come out. Just want to open up to the board if they had any comments around what they saw, or just in general, if we want to guide administration towards something around a bond or anything specific around turf fields. So just want to put that out there if anyone has any feedback.
So what is the intent moving forward? I think last I saw was over 300 people had signed the petition. You know, I understand it was not delivered yet to the district, so maybe that will happen soon. But you know, I've always been someone who's always wants to push the district ahead, whether it be capital projects, interior, exterior, arts, theater, music, and sports, athletics. So I also spend a lot of time down at the turf in the concession stand.
Yes, you do. We do now.
So I communicate a lot with parents, students. I see a lot. I see students arriving at 7:30 at night for practice because they want to be on the turf field. Someone just sent me an email that they received from a coach relocating practice to another location because there's no turf field. So, you know, there are issues and concerns that the turf field is a priority for a lot of our teams.
Right.
Our teams are excelling. Their seasons are continuing late. There are a lot of important contests and playoff games, and I think to further enhance that program, I think it's something we should consider. I know it's may or not have been part of a 5-year plan, but I think we have to be fluid and meet the needs of the district as they progress. So if it's something that we could identify that we're going to discuss further at a future meeting where people have the opportunity to attend and also provide their opinion and concerns, pro or against, I think as elected officials and representatives of the community, we should allow them to have the opportunity to provide their input.
Thanks for that, Mike.
When you say allow, I mean, everybody is always welcome at every point of this process. So I just want to reiterate, I agree with you 100% in terms of ensuring that our community input is heard. I just hope that the intention behind creating a petition, that there would be like follow through. We don't need to provide the community with a platform for this is the platform, but the seats are all empty. So I just want to make sure, I appreciate you bringing it up. I just want to make sure that that's clear to our community. You know, the voices are always welcome.
I'll make sure that if it's on an agenda, that the seats aren't empty, that you can hear people. Because honestly, I've been trying to push for this, you know, these projects the last few years because of concerns I've heard from parents. And if this is kind of like I told them, I'll have them like this could be their last time. If no one shows up, signing a petition is also an easy thing to do. You sign it digitally. It's a data for the board that there are 300 plus people who signed that petition. And I guess the district will verify the signatures, make sure they're all residents, but they have to show up. I agree with you. And it's not just showing up to a committee meeting or a single board meeting, or they need to show up and speak their mind and provide the opinions. And if
Listen,
there is a next step where it becomes a proposition, they also have to vote. And that's what
right.
I think that's what we're here for, to provide that opportunity for district residents to voice their concerns and cast their votes. And if they want something, we should receive the message and provide them an option.
And you're right, Mike. And the reason why I brought it up now is we're at a very critical juncture in terms of timing where we are in the year. We have Space and Facilities Committee underway. We're about to enter January again, where we start budget planning for next year. We have a look-see over our capital projects, right, for the next, Jerry, is it right, for the next 5 years, at least minimally for the next year. So we have, just for the community to know, we had a 2017 capital reserve. We have a 2021 capital reserve. Those monies that are funded in there are allocated based on what we come up with as priorities as a board, right, what we want to see continue. And most of it comes, and I'd encourage the residents, the board does a nice job, and thanks to administration, we have our BCS, they call it the Building Condition Survey, that's posted online. you could see the condition of our buildings and the prioritization that comes out, right? That we look at fixing things or keeping up with the district, and why we have all the, I really call it the beautiful things that we do have, is as a result of all the hard work of not only the administration, but the people here in the room. So I think if their voices want to be heard, now is the time, I think, at the end of the day, because we're going to have to prioritize what we do with that capital and what we do with our future plans. I do believe, Mr. Poole, we've asked questions, and our updates has given us updates. The fall season is a tough season. I do agree that probably everyone wants to be on that turf, Mike. I think we know that, and I think it's suffering from, the prioritization of who gets it at what times, right? And then because we have such great teams in the fall, whether it's maybe field hockey I've seen, or soccer, or football, it's who gets the field for what practice time or play time, right? And then you have JV teams.
Well, yeah, and
Go ahead,
there
sir.
are restrictions, and I think Mr. Poole provides some data, there are
Right.
restrictions on which teams
Yep, get to use it.
get to use it within a week. Girls soccer, there was no, they didn't get to use the field once, full field.
Right.
Field hockey, because of some concerns, used it 6 times. So I think we have to be, if there's such a demand for turf, and that is everyone's preference, from coaching down to athletes, we need to
Right.
look at something.
Well, I made mention of it earlier. I know that we have a district-wide plan in place for maintenance of our fields, and I've asked about it, and I know that the district keeps up with it. If there's such a concern about using the grass fields versus the turf fields, I think that needs to be made known. Otherwise, we need to think about our priorities again on
Right.
turf. Who
But-
gets to use it?
And again,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to sound like a broken record, but
No,
if there are grass fields available, but teams are still prioritizing or scheduling their practices to use the turf. Now,
okay,
my son's in 10th grade. We're not there yet, but I don't want my son going to practice at 8 o'clock or 7:30 at
night,
night during the
right.
week, coming home at 9:30 and finishing up homework. That's shouldn't be acceptable. If we have something, if we can change that,
mhm,
and maybe my son won't be able to take advantage of that. That's okay.
understand.
But it's hard to see kids arriving at the turf field at 7, waiting for a game to finish sometimes, because there's a game on, waiting. And last week there was a soccer game, boys soccer, I think it was, girls soccer. Field hockey and football showed up at 7 o'clock and waited for the game to finish to practice.
Yeah, I can appreciate that as a parent, and then having a student who probably has a workload, right, of AP classes in high school or whatnot, and here they are having to do practice at 8 o'clock at night, Mike. Go ahead, Katie.
I'm curious to also know, this is not, I'm not a coach, so I don't want this question to come across as undermining. But it is a question from my own athlete who is on the field at that hour. And I'm curious to know, maybe with a new athletic director, if we can look to some of the philosophy behind
Yeah, the use of turf.
the use of
Yeah.
our facilities
That's a
as a
good point,
whole.
Jerry.
And
That's a good point.
we have,
Yeah, that's interesting.
there was one night this week in particular in which the field hockey team was on the turf to do conditioning exercises versus like actually using the turf. So, and they haven't requested to use the new fitness center at all this season. So,
That's a good point.
so I
Jerry.
just am curious about, potential uses for maximizing our facilities, providing cross-training opportunities for students, leveraging
Yeah, what we have.
what we have.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I really, I say that, like, take it with a grain of salt, because it's not my area of expertise. What we're doing is currently working. What we with our current facilities, and I agree, our students need more sleep, but what we're doing is working. So I ask that humbly, because we have something amazing currently
Yeah,
happening
Absolutely.
with our athletes.
I think you're bringing up very valid points, and I think I'd ask administration, I think that's a great point to think about. Mike, why is there this, and please don't get this the wrong way, but is the sense that we only need to use the turf, and is that the standard that they only feel that they can practice on and play on
No, I mean,
versus,
you
no,
know,
you know where I'm going?
No,
is-
I think being competitive and being, I don't want to be the only one speaking.
No, no, you're not,
Jim
Mike.
coaches
We're having- I
lacrosse,
think we're having a
youth lacrosse, and
conversation,
even
yeah.
youth lacrosse, they play the games on turf. I mean, it seems that that's where everything is heading these days, whether it be against other schools and in playoff games and state games, and it seems to be that everyone wants to practice on turf because that's where the game experience is,
Okay,
you know? And I know, field hockey, there is also, and Jerry includes something from Bev Hopper, that,
Yeah.
the New York State, School, Athletic Association, that playing field hockey on turf, it's a faster game, it's a different type of game, so you can't even practice it or play it on grass. They prefer to
Oh,
play on
interesting.
turf.
oh, okay, interesting.
So,
Okay.
you know, and I think that's where they're all going. And to say that's practicing soccer on grass will benefit you when you play on turf, I don't know. I mean,
So, yeah, I think when we lay it all out, it's a combination of things. It's our money and resources, right? What do we have in the bank today, quote unquote? What is in our reserves? Do we ask administration to look at the potential? We'd have to probably do that in short order in the next few weeks, Mike. You know, not putting you on the spot, but I'm saying for the whole board, we'd have to look at this pretty quickly if we were going to do a separate bond, because that would have to be voted upon up in May, along with our normal budget, which would lead to a different set of priorities for our current administration, more than likely. So that's something to consider. I do think that we should look at our philosophies based on what I'm hearing too. Is the turf the only, is there a reason why coaches are only insisting on using turf? And you're bringing up some great things. I think the athletic viewpoint would be interesting. The AD's input, Jerry, on what he is seeing. And I think it's for the community too. It's a process. We know that even if we, hate to say it this way, but we know with the timeframes of getting an approval to even go through it from a bond standpoint, we're looking at, help me if I'm wrong, Jerry, we're probably looking at 18 months to 2 years, right, for a turf to get put down, even if we went ahead and,
You would,
Right,
if
and not-
something was improved
I'm
in
just
May,
saying,
you would,
yeah.
you would construct it, it'd probably be built the summer of '26.
okay, so that's
It's
18
probably-
months? Is
Yeah,
that,
from May, approved in May,
yeah,
put a project together,
May 25,
SED approval.
spring of 26.
so
go out
about
to
a little
bid,
over a
so
year, Mike.
summer-
I mean,
Summer
if-
'26.
If you were to utilize capital reserve, similar to we did with the bond, you would have cash up front to
Yeah, we have a
push
funding
projects
source.
along,
Yeah,
just
funding
like we did
source.
with the last bond, and using prior year state aid. You could do that, right? And
Yeah.
listen, there are other
If you had
projects that I know,
yes.
there are other projects, again, I've been on Space Facilities almost 10 years with
Yes.
Henry. There are other projects, like we talked about, you know, a cafeteria at Miller Avenue. They're just sides of projects you can't do with the capital reserve. So maybe this is an opportunity to capture some of those projects, repaving the middle school, enhancing the parking lot. I mean, we all saw tonight,
Yes,
you know, with football and
challenges.
field hockey, there was no parking here.
that's right.
Um,
So I think that we're bringing up a good dialogue. I'm glad we're having it together, and that I want the community to recognize that this board does take a look at all of these things, and it's a balancing act in the sense of what are the priorities of the district. We do have a standard practice for that, which is looking at our building conditions, assessing capital needs, looking at our capital reserves, no different than we do at home with our own budgets. We try and figure out what's the best use of monies and for what the, and by the way, we heard about the music program, art programs, and our library program here today. We equally have such great athletics, Mike, you know, to the whole board. We want to continue to support those. But what does that look like? We know that the current turf is on our forecast. I think it's in 27 to replace, Jerry, right now?
We should use a portion of the 2026 reserve, which.
Excuse me, 26,
The
sorry.
2021 reserve, which
Yeah.
will be funded a little over $6 million, but it's probably, by the time we go to redo the turf and tracks,
Yeah.
probably close to $2 million
Yeah.
out of that, but that leaves $4.5 million that we've been working on. What is the range of important prioritized projects
Yeah.
that we want to put forth right now
Yeah.
for a ballot in May? To
100%,
use the 2021 reserve. So that
That's
list is not finalized. That would
of course.
emerge during the budget process. Some work for space and facilities to come up with a sort of a prioritized list. And as you mentioned, leaning on the building condition survey for some projects that
Absolutely, need to
that
come
would be
forward.
and if something else emerged over the last couple of years since the BCS, we would be reviewing that as well.
Okay. So I think that I'll conclude with, does anyone else have anything they want to add before I,
I just want to, I've been on space and facilities, mostly on, but sometimes on and off over the last 8 years, and I do think that there might be a misconception that you alluded to about the petition, that the board hasn't looked at this on an ongoing basis. Mr. Lewis has certainly championed it. Each year, we've taken a good look at okay, how does this fit within every single project and the scope of everything that, all the competing priorities that we have? And the committee keeps coming back to, which this board, I think we've been pretty consistent in being very fiscally responsible. We've arrived at this idea of a bond is a great idea, and enhancing our facilities is a great idea. How does it fit into our 1-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan? And it's been at the forefront of our planning and consideration as when the last bond payment drops off, that would most likely be the most strategic and optimal time to leverage that absence of debt and take on new debt in a way that would not impact the taxpayer negatively. So there is a deep, long history of planning that has gone, and thoughtfulness that has gone into. I just want to make sure that that's clear to the community
Right.
too. It's a rushed timeline for this particular point of consideration, but it's not. We never react in that sort of reactionary stance. We've been thinking
Yes,
about it,
absolutely.
which is one of the greatest benefits of having a board that has had this long of a tenure, because we have that long-term strategic planning that doesn't need to get interrupted each time. So
That's
been,
good. That's
been
right.
really great.
I agree.
to have.
Thanks, Katie. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. Please. I think right now, what I'd like to know is if there is a desire on the community's behalf, I'd say to Mike, and Katie said it, we have an empty board. We brought it up, it's in the public agenda tonight, that this was old business to talk about turf fields. It's been on the Space and Facilities Committee, so this isn't like necessarily new business. It was brought up again. I just attended the meeting, I just forgot the date. This was out there, and it didn't seem like it was gonna get taken up. So I wanted to bring it out into the public purview because of the petition. If residents are interested and want to participate, this is the time to do it, because we're going to come up on budget season. We're going to continue with our normal process if we're not told or given more feedback for something different. That's how I look at it, Jim. So if there's an advocacy out there that I'm not aware of, now is their time to come forward. That's really where I'm at.
And there's a whole lot of, not every signature maybe, but there's a whole lot of catching up to do.
That's right.
In terms of everything that we've been looking at for the past 8 years.
That's right, Katie. And it's not a guarantee. I'm not making a guarantee out to the community on behalf, because I'm speaking just as,
Backup.
what's that, Katie? I'm sorry?
I don't know, Mike was just saying.
Yeah,
Just
well,
on every single financial and building condition survey, to talk about it in a one-time meeting vacuum, I'm not sure that every single person who's signed is as
You're gonna
acutely
educate.
aware
Okay.
of the scope of the consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Katie's saying in the sense of, it's been a long haul for us to look at the research and look at all the information in front of us, and I don't think anyone on this dais is coming from a place of no. We just want to, I mean, when this conversation first opened up, my perspective was, of course, a turf would be beautiful. We would all welcome something that's that beautiful, but it has to make sense inside of a K-12 budget and over time.
It doesn't, though. If the community wants to pass a bond,
It
then
doesn't have to
you,
make sense.
no one up here can say no to it. If it gets, let's say, I mean, I'm not trying to be aggressive, but if we have 4 people that say we want to push a bond, or put a bond up for a vote, the community votes on that. They vote yes, they vote no. They vote yes, then there's a bond. If they vote no, then there's not. It's not, I didn't come up here to say yes or no to everything that the community may or may not want. That's why we vote for things. That's why there is a vote every May. So if it's a proposition that goes up, if we have 300 people submit a petition for a Miller Avenue cafeteria, we can say, well, it doesn't fit in the 2035 when the next bond is done off the books, then maybe we'll consider it.
No,
I think
what I'm
that's
saying-
a little short-sighted.
I think what I'm saying is, if we have a building condition survey and we're gonna kick projects down the road that we're prioritizing in the condition survey, I think that we have an obligation to look at the long-term health of our schools. So if there's projects that need to be done because they're priority projects, you know, we're looking at competing funds by putting in 3 turf fields.
Competing with what, capital reserve?
Competing with, no, if we're gonna start looking at capital reserves as a way to offset the bond.
But isn't it, but you don't have to, a bond could be a separate entity in
I'm just
itself.
saying this, we do have a 5-year condition survey, and we do have an obligation to look at what the needs are for the district. So again, I don't think anyone on the stage is coming from a place of, no, it just has to make sense inside of the limited funds that we do have.
So here's a good way to summarize what's kind of happening is, Mike, what you're suggesting is not how we've done business, which is just putting up a bond to see how it does. Don't take this the wrong way. We've been operating under a raising capital through our funds that are in our budget and putting those in capital reserves and using those for maintenance
We're
projects.
using surplus funds to fund the capital reserve.
That's correct.
Then we fund projects
That's right.
that the district chooses to do with
With
a
our
very
participation. Yeah.
vague description of projects that we then identify projects.
I don't know if that's a fair assessment. I think that we give ourselves some leeway.
Leniency, yeah, I get you.
We do that.
I don't disagree with how we've done things, I'm just saying there are other opportunities, that's all.
It's all disclosed.
Yeah.
We put forth the capital reserve and we explain what the use cases are for that, and voters approve it. And I think that, stepping back, I think if you put up a separate bond, we always run the risk of what happens to our normal school budget, I think is what maybe Megan was leaning in. It's just something for the community to be aware of, that you risk other programs potentially, maybe not immediately, Mike.
Why? A bond is a separate
I'll give you an example.
fiscal.
So let's just talk about the election that's coming up right now.
Right.
There's 2 state propositions on it. You could have those run independently, like you're suggesting, like a bond, but if there are residents who believe that we're now unfortunately making poor decisions on behalf of them, do they vote the bond, or regular school budget down? I don't know,
I mean, it's a separate entity on the ballot.
I'm just bringing it up that we're just,
I
that's
mean,
not how we've,
I think if you were to say, listen, we're
Yeah.
gonna create a budget, and we're gonna add a transfer capital line in the budget to fund
That's
extra
different.
turfs.
That's
Then say
That's different.
that's a problem, and maybe the budget will get voted
Uh,
down, if you were to do something like that.
That's if we did it within the
Right.
budget. That's a good point, Mike, but I'm saying that if you put up another bond where our current one isn't paid off and there's, I don't know, community, maybe non-support, I'm guessing, throwing it out there. I'm just saying, Mike, I'm putting out both ends of the spectrum, that our school budget gets turned down. I don't know. It's a thought. Look, I'm putting it all out there. My
I think
point of.
our
Right.
community is, we've done a really great job, I think, as a board, where there's some level of community trust where if we put a bond up, that there's going to be this assumption that it fits within the long-term plan of our district, that it must be something that is, that is going
Support it, maybe?
going to be
Yeah.
the best for our district, the
Yeah.
best for our kids. So it's just, we spend, especially on Board Appreciation Night, all the hours that Mr. Poole mentioned, we spend so much time. I beg people to reconsider the idea of signing a petition versus being involved in the process that we have. It's a data point, but the community deserves to be a part of our educational process through these public session meetings and through all of the committees that our superintendent has we've done so much outreach, communication, and support. There's a way to get involved and have your voices heard.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, a petition like that is just not the format.
Okay, but that was the whole purpose of petitions, but,
We have the empty podium right here. I'd love to hear.
okay, you got
Yeah.
it.
So my point in bringing it up tonight was to bring public awareness to it, that we do run our board meetings, and you're welcome as a community member to come and speak if that's something they would like to have us address. In the interim, I would ask Mr. Poole, I thought some good comments came up tonight about our AD and our turf field usage. I know that you gave us some really good information about the fall and what goes on, Jerry. But I think it'd be great to understand the philosophy around the practice on the field or not, and the late night hours, and whether that's a good thing, bad thing. I'm not making any judgment on it. I'm just saying that it's probably something we should also consider. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm feeling like a little bit of a like dissonance with knowing that there was a petition in the community. Like, I know I'm gonna get asked, like, so whatever happened to that?
To that?
Like, I thought that was my civic duty by signing something to hopefully, raise awareness for something.
And
I can
that's-
say, come to the next meeting and you can,
And again, it's not a guarantee. Listen, anyone can sign a petition for anything. I hate to say that in life. We have a fiduciary obligation as a board, no matter what, to put forth what we, listen, we're here, we're obviously serving our public and our community, and it's our obligation to look on behalf of the fiscal soundness of our district. Does it really make sense or not? We do know we have capital right now. Mr. Poole just indicated, we have the 2017 remainder in 2021. Could this be something that we look at immediately, potentially, right? It's just changing and shuffling priorities, and it's like a house budget. If you're shifting your priorities, what gets put on the shelf potentially, Jim, right? Versus what you're doing today, and that's important to let these folks know, the administrators now, because they may have to shift priorities, and it's not on the things to do list right now.
I think the idea of a petition is incredible. It's part of what we
Right.
are able to do as an American.
Right.
I guess my caution is that, did the people that signed the petition have access to the information that's been provided for the past year and a half? And I just want to make sure that they also had that information.
And you know what, great point, Megan. I would encourage the public who are listening to go back out. All of our board meetings and presentations are out there. That would have been presented, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, that would have been more than likely part of one of the building updates.
I can share
Give-
those links.
yeah, would you
we do
mind?
the Board of Ed sort of highlights.
Yes.
I think
highlight
that would
the
be a great
discussion and,
resource to put out.
Attach some of the
I
links.
agree that that's a great resource, but just in full transparency,
Yes.
I've engaged with those resources in depth
Yes.
over time, and they are complex. And
Okay.
so, if there's a way that we can distill into some, I actually don't expect community members to be as well-versed as the board
Right.
in those documents. And sometimes it can feel like, well, if you just uploaded 15 documents, where do I make sense of those 15?
Yeah.
I have to
super
dig
fair.
into
Yeah.
No, it's a good
spreadsheets upon
point.
spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Is there a way, and I don't,
Hmm.
I don't want to distill it so that the complexity of the challenge that we're talking about gets ignored or, dismissed, because there are a lot of moving parts.
Mhm.
But I just wonder if there's a way, and I think that's where I'm coming from, is like, can we be responsive to folks who are like, this is a great idea, why not?
Mhm.
In a way that's a little less go into the repository of lots
Yeah,
of files.
that's fair.
To make sense of it on your own. Because I could also go through and
I
say,
think with even-
well, look, what about this $7 million? Can't you spend it on this? And you get into this analysis paralysis kind of mode. Whereas if we had, I'd hate to say one pager, but something that is a summary of the conversation that you all have been a part. I'm the newest, obviously, one here, but I think a lot of community members are coming to the table with this new, I hate to say uneducated, but like, I would say that to myself, like, I feel uneducated and I've poured through a lot of those documents. So I can only imagine how folks are like feeling if it's, hey, you might want to come to a meeting, sift through this information without the guidance. And, Glenn, you do an amazing job providing that guidance in these meetings. And yet, it's still a complex topic that
It's always
that
gonna-
is
It is
hard for people to
complicated.
comprehend.
It's always going to be complex, Jim. I'm trying to think how we even break it down, because whoever put up the petition did a nice job. It was actually our real BC, I think it was, BBS is our architects. That was the presentation that was provided. So it had the designs of the fields. I think it had everything pretty accurate, Jim. So when you look at it on its own, the cost of the fields, I think everything was an accurate representation. I'm trying to think how you put that against the building condition survey and the capital projections that we have.
And
You
not,
don't-
and not only is it the capital projections,
Yes,
right?
please.
There's a bunch of things that we as board members and administration know.
Right,
There's a collective bargaining that's coming up with the teachers' union.
That's
That we
right.
need to
a
incorporate
pilot coming
into
up.
future, right?
yep,
There's pilots associated potentially with utilities. And then there's also the mandates that we continue to get, right? So we have a bus electrification mandate that we need to, either we have buses or we don't have buses someday. I mean, that's where I'm at with that.
right.
Again, I'm not trying to panic anyone, but I think, to your point, there's a lot of complexity here. It goes beyond just, do we do this or do we do not do this? There's a financial fiduciary responsibility that we have, that we've got to look at that. And part of that, unfortunately, is educating our constituents.
Yep.
And to your, I think it's a great idea, trying to do that, but there's a lot of complexity behind that. It's
And
not
there's
just
state aid
coming up with
unknowns that
So.
we,
Trying to think how we solve for that, because it is complex. I'm just thinking out loud, and I don't have the answer tonight. If anyone has any other suggestions, I'm all ears, but I hear you, Jim. Jerry, I know you're listening, and administrators are. I don't know if you have any thoughts on boiling down some of the basics to I guess, help. Go ahead.
Yeah, and our community, I mean, I don't want to be misunderstood in this idea that we choose to volunteer. We want to be here. We could do other things, and the people who aren't here are doing other volunteer things in the community. We have a deeply involved community. I don't want to downplay that. It's not that they've checked out. They're doing there's other competing priorities similar to all these other things that we're considering.
Mhm.
There's competing priorities. So parents, they're putting their kids to bed. They're coming back from whatever they've volunteered for. So I don't hold that against anyone.
Right, the knowledge, you mean the
Yeah,
knowledge transfer?
So,
Yeah,
but the
right.
knowledge transfer
it's
has to
hard.
occur
Yeah, no,
in
it is.
order for everyone to be able to trust. Like, yeah, because as a board, we're never just gonna throw something up and see if it sticks. We're gonna
Right.
charge our administration with selling it with everything that they have. And then they have to sell it to the community, every budget, every bond, in order to, it just has to be an authentic process. It has to be authentic. We're charging them with putting a budget together that
Mhm.
that starts as soon as we vote yes to the budget in May, and Mr. Arcuri and Mr. Poole begin to figure out, where are we going next? And it all fits within a 5-year, 10-year plan.
Horizon, mhm.
I don't know if, just thinking about it, if the next meeting, we
Yes.
come back to turf, and there's some way to put the cost in the context of, the use of a reserve, or the
Mhm.
cost in the context of a bond, and then in some way, and not to go through the 300 items on the DCS, but to maybe put it in the context of other items
Other
that
projects.
have been on the
May-
agenda.
Maybe that's not a bad idea,
To
Jerry, is,
take a look at it.
why don't we look
that
at it
way.
this way? I think that's a good ask, because the bond we know will take longer. Why don't we look at it in the case of reserves, what was currently administration's thought process around the 2021,
Mhm.
what to use the funds for? And I will share this as well. The whole field study that was done in what BBS did, I think that was a comprehensive, multiple fields, multiple things to do. Maybe there's I hate to say this out loud, I'm solving for, maybe there's a scaled down version that doesn't cost that much, that is something that we could allocate with current capital. I'm just saying, we don't, again, I'm not trying to solve at this moment, but maybe that's the way to do it, Jerry, is to be transparent about, here are the current considerations for capital, and here's what fields would cost, and we all look at it, and if public wants to come and show up and comment, because it's on the agenda, it gives them the opportunity to come comment on capital needs and capital reserves, and where we're using our funds, to see if there's any feedback. And we as a board, again, are gonna make our decision collectively on what we decide. But at least we have community input, I think, and then it's been transparent. That's all we can do.
Yeah,
Jim, is that, go ahead.
I was say, I think the list that was recently provided, I think it was close to $10 million for field work. I think that includes, I think when you start thinking out of the box, like, do we need a JV baseball field? we need, I mean, we haven't had a JV softball team, and there's item on there to redo the dugout and the backstop. So like, are there certain items, I know we talked about, there's a synthetic turf for the tennis courts. I mean, are we really moving forward with that? So there are a lot of items on there that we can maybe weed out, maybe come to a number that's more palatable for the community. So I mean, maybe we can discuss that as well.
Another way to maybe look at it is the investments that we've made, Jerry, in athletics or other things like that, like Mike just said, because I know that there are other competing projects even in around sports. I know that some of the community members, I think even you guys have spoken about the tennis courts potentially needing to be redone at some point because we have land shifting. I think it's whatever you described.
Yeah, it may not be carpet, but the high school
You know
tennis
what I mean?
courts are an annual investment, and
Right.
they look great, but, you know, we're not talking more than 5 years, then we have to do something major
That's right.
with the tennis courts, so.
So I think that's our ask, is to come back and not to overburden you, but to take a look at how you were thinking about the 2021 capital use.
Sure.
And let's just have a conversation. And if residents are listening and they want to show up and hear and listen to the way that we all really talk about priorities for the district, I'd love them involved in the conversation, and we'll hopefully make a good, continue with the great decision-making that you've made. So that's where we are.
And we'll see if we can make it stand alone
Thank you, Jerry.
in
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah, that's
you.
fine.
So we've
I
got some
think that's all we
What-
can ask.
just-
Is that-
When is that, when are we looking to schedule?
So
it?
November, what's today?
12th?
November 12th?
November
the
12th
next-
is the next meeting?
Yeah, next meeting, I
Mhm.
think, is November 12th. I have my calendar in front of
Thank
me. I think that's.
Where, is that, what school is that at?
We would be at the, where we're going, Miller, no,
Oh,
we're
is it
going Miller or
Wading
Wading River next? Where's,
I thought it was Wading River.
I think it's Wading River, is right. I don't have it. in
Wading
front
River.
of me. It is
So
Wading
we-
River,
we
yeah.
will be
Wading
Wading
River,
River.
Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I'll make a note in the
Yeah.
email blast that the
Thank you.
board
Yes, and
discussed
the board
turf,
update,
and that,
yeah.
hoping that community members are
Yeah.
listening and welcome to attend. We'll
Yeah,
continue
then
discussion
discuss
at the
down on
next-
capital.
at the
on
next
capital.
meeting,
Yeah, I
and,
think that's how the
okay.
position of Jerry, thank you.
And,
Okay.
and I think
Nope.
we also, we need, he's brand new, but we also need to hear, this board's philosophy has always been, you know, like, teacher first and teacher driven, you know, so
Right,
like,
input.
so we're not just the deciding body. I really want to know what Mr. Bromoff thinks too. You know, so, not that he has to take a position, but I can't imagine having that conversation without his input,
Sure.
you know, as well.
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity for, that's a good point.
Just, we have an athletic director that doesn't want improvements to their sports facilities, then we need to find a new athletic director. But,
I'm
We can-
not saying he's not gonna want it, I just
Okay,
wanna know his
alright.
perception on,
Okay.
you know, we had a question about the
Yeah.
use of facilities, how is it going, you know, well,
He
the,
he can help and shed light on scheduling.
Yeah, I
Shed
just,
on-
I think that would be
yeah.
helpful,
And the
because
idea
there were
that,
some good
while
questions.
we do have, and I'll put it on record, while we do have healthy, safe, and great grass fields that we do maintain,
Yes, agreed.
you know, the turf has been prioritized by our coaches for whatever reason.
Yeah, of course.
And he
Yeah,
can shed light
yeah.
on scheduling and that.
Thank you.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That was good. So moving forward, is it okay to move forward to votes and resolutions? Everybody okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, terrific. All right, moving right along. So first up will be our approval of our October 8th, 2024 regular public meeting minutes. May I get a motion? Henry, second Katie. Any discussions or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Next is our approval of our CPSE, CSE, and 504 meeting summary memo dated October 17th, 2024. May I get a motion? First Megan, second Henry. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? 6-0. Next is our September 2024 Treasurers Report. May I get a motion? Mike, second Katie. Any discussions or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Next will be our Board of Education resolutions. Is it okay if I take these as a block? There are 3 of them. It goes 2425063 to 2425065.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. May I get a motion, please? Katie, second, Jamal. All in favor? 6-0. I did want to highlight 2 things of what we just approved. First, I wanted to thank for the donation, Mr. Daniel Costa Braga, I think that is, right? For the donation of a 3-tier aluminum bleacher, estimated value of $750 for use at one of our SWR athletic fields.
We put to use, yeah.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. And next, I did want to thank community members as we talked tonight about community involvement, I want to thank two people who have signed up to be members of our district, to be appointed to district committees. Mr. Montelato, Daniel Montelato for audit, space and facilities and legislative, thank you. And Ms. Lori Goldstein for space and facilities. Thank you for signing up to be a part of our community and our district, our committees. Next up will be our curriculum and instruction resolutions. This section has, is this the, let me see one thing here. This has the, no, it's got the rest, just making sure. Okay, is it okay if I take these as a block? There are 06, 08, so there's 6 of these? 7, thank you. I can add, oh, it's right up top, thank you, Stephanie. So 2425066 through 2425072. Any discussion or questions on these? Can I get a motion? Jamel, Mike, second. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you. Next is our business and operations resolutions. On these, I did want to call one out. Let's see. I'd like to take, looking for the JLO one.
084, maybe?
Which one is it? Is it 08?
084?
Thank you. Yes, that's right. The only one, I'd like to take them as a block, and I want to call out 2425084 for a separate vote. Okay to take the rest as a block, which is a total of, they go from, let's see, there's 17 of these, so it'll be 16. So I'm going to approve 2425073 through 2425089, but calling out 2425084. Okay with that, everybody?
Yeah.
May I get a motion, please? Megan, second, Jamel. Discussion or questions? All in favor?
Yes, I just had a question
Please.
on 2324-079.
Okay.
So we were talking about, I guess, expenditures and what we're spending money on.
Yes,
This is a contract for hourly services, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is for maintenance of boilers, I guess, at the high school,
District-wide maintenance.
district-wide. How much are we currently spending on boiler maintenance?
For the 2023-24 school year, we had expense $20,000 total for a district-wide cleaning and general maintenance. And for emergency repairs, we had expended $23,000. There was a $95,000 expenditure at the high school, which was to convert our third boiler to be able to be a dual fuel burning boiler. But if you put that aside, just the standard emergency calls coupled with cleaning and general maintenance, there was $43,000 total spent for the 23-24 school year.
And the boilers in the high school are original to the building?
Yes,
Okay, which is 1972 era?
yes.
Okay.
wow,
Thank you.
interesting.
They, just to also add to that, so they were identified, I believe, in the 2015 bond to be replaced, and I believe during the process, they were deemed acceptable to be refurbished and continue
Yes,
to be
they are.
utilized. So
Yes,
there's-
we had a retube boiler number 2, and we just put new burners on boiler, a new burner on boiler number 3.
Okay, so they've been maintained. Interesting.
Huh?
Okay.
I don't know.
Mr. Curie, what's the life expectancy on those?
Great question. I will get back to you with that answer.
Thank
I
you,
mean, I would
Mr.
like to
Arcuri.
think that since the architect and engineer suggested refurbishing them
Right.
instead of replacing them, when we had the money identified to replacing that, that was a
So
smart.
they're
you
not
know,
on the BCS, that's.
They're not on the
that's
BCS.
Yeah,
first
that's a
piece
good
of
thing.
news.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I'd like to think that too. Just old.
good questions,
sold
Henry.
things sold for-
Thank you, Mr. Arcuri, for taking that away.
sold things for-
So are we okay to vote on,
things up.
so that part of it, you okay, Henry, with the continue? Okay. So again, just to remind everyone, we're going to approve 2425073 to 2425089 with the exception of 084,
I
and call that out for a separate vote. Mike?
Just wanted to make a comment again, it's 085 through 087.
Yep,
The district is hosting many state, not state, county championships, so I think it's, again, a testament to our fields and the opportunities we have, not only for our students, but for out of districts to want to use them.
Absolutely. It's nice that we're the host site. Is that what you're saying, Mike, right, basically?
It is.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yep, agreed.
We have such accessible stands and fields. I love that.
Appreciate that. Okay, so may I get a vote, please? All in favor? So 6-0, and I'm going to call out 2425084. May I get a motion? Megan, second Jim. I'm having one of those moments. All in favor? 6-0. Just wanted to let the community know that 2425084, this resolution was approval of our RFP request to a real estate broker, JLL, which goes by Jones Lang LaSalle Brokerage, to assist our sale of the Briarcliff building. Thank you for that. We're going to keep moving. Yeah, okay, took care of that. So I think, are we done?
Personnel?
Oh, personnel,
we have
thank you. Yeah,
personnel.
why do I have, is the obsolete equipment, Stephanie, quick question. In my copy, is the obsolete equipment a separate resolution? No, it was 089. You know what, it was just the way the sheet looked, I apologize. My apologies. Let's move to personnel. You're right. May I get a motion for personnel, please? Katie, second. Mike, any discussion or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Stephanie, over to you now. Any communications?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion from the board?
No, thank you.
Thank again to our administrators who celebrated the school board recognition, and appreciate
Excellent
all
board
the
education.
feedback. And it's great to have a dedicated team that I work with all the time, and the passion that you guys bring forward. Thank you for that. May I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Okay, Jim L. and Katie, all in favor? 6-0. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.